So I saw this movie called The Professor. It's with Johnny Depp, and the movie was not a great movie. But the opening, it opens with Johnny Depp's character, the professor, sitting in a doctor's office where the doctor is telling him he has 6 months to live. Stage 4 cancer. They could try treatment, maybe give him another year, but he's going to die. And so he walks out of the office, and there's this pond. And he just walks into the pond and flaps down with all his clothes on and everything. Just looks up at the camera like, I have no idea what to do with the 6 months I have left. Or that I've spent my life in a good way up till now. And I looked at him when he was there, and I started thinking, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. I've been having it all my life. And then I felt the gratitude of that I have had it all my life, so I've been asking the question since my 20s. So for those of you that don't know, at 12, I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And then at 26, I was told that the disease had so ravaged my intestines that it was no longer a matter of if I got cancer, but when. Now, to put you a little at ease, in my 40s, I went through an entire transformation where I went back to the doctors, they took some more pictures, and they sat there going, this is impossible, we must have made some mistake, because all the scar tissue, all the ravaging is gone, as if you've never had this disease at all. So there must be some error here. We'll have to check on that. I asked for a week later, it finally dawned on me to ask for the before and after pictures, because they've had them for years, since I'm, a kid, and they said they lost them. Yeah, convenient. But at 26, I didn't know that was going to happen at 40. So at 26, I started thinking how I was living my life. And I started wondering what I will feel like at the moment of my death. And so I spent some time imagining myself on my deathbed. Now, I decided to imagine myself as an old man on my deathbed, not the age of around 30, whatever, that the doctors were saying I had. So I'm just looking at myself as an old man on my deathbed, looking back on my life, and the question that came to me is, am I happy with the way I lived? And I realized at 26, I wasn't. I wasn't happy. That if I kept living the way I was living at that point, up until the end, I would not be happy with how I lived. And so it became my North Star. Now, I have to tell you that throughout my life, I have completely forgotten about my North Star at different times. And most of the movie is about this guy who, once he realizes that he's going to die in 6 months, goes into tremendous chaos and depravity and trying to make up for lost time and all that kind of stuff. And I did that in my late 20s and early 30s, trying to become a rock and roll star, which at that point was the most important thing in the world to me. Had lots of bands, had lots of adventures, got close like 3 times. But the thing that when I look back on all of it, I recognize is there were these moments. These were these really important moments in my life where I would remember what I wanted my life to stand for. And in those moments, I would go, this is not it. This may look good to others. This may even be what others think I ought to be doing, because I had a lot of people throughout my life telling me what I ought to be doing. And I would shift, and I would change, and I would piss off everybody. Some of you around here know what that's like to get pissed off at me. But I got to tell you that all I keep doing is keep holding to that which is highest for me. And what you have in you is what's highest for you. And so one of the things I've come to realize through all these years, and this talk started with me thinking about meaning making, which I've talked to you about before, how we're always just making up meaning, right? We're always just, meaning is not intrinsic. It's not like it's in the world and there's, people want to convince you that it is. People are constantly wanting to convince you that there's meaning that's intrinsic, even God or love. There are those who are absolutely convinced that's intrinsic in life. Well, I am convinced it's not. I just like it. It is my choice to live that way because it works for me. But I have learned that everyone, every one of you, everyone in the world has something inside them that has meaning for them personally. But then we get poured on by shoulds. Like we should be peaceful. Try to tell a football player that, hockey player that. Right? And what it does is it messes with your head. If you think you should be one way, but something in you that has meaning for you, like being the best at whatever it is you want to be the best at, and other people are going, well, you shouldn't. That's not what you should be focused on. I've heard countless times people talking about no one on their deathbed talks about their work. It's not true. My favorite is Renoir, who his last words, surrounded by his loving family, said, "What a shame, just as I'm beginning to show promise." And then died. That's what was on his line. I was looking up last words, right, that people say on their deathbed. Here's one that must have been quite a shock to her children when she said, "I never liked being a mother." And then went on to tell her kids, don't do stuff you don't like, just because you think you should. You never know. But you got to discover that for yourself. And I have figured out, because I now know that I have lived a life I am so proud and happy of. And it's no longer to me just this thing in the future where I see myself on my deathbed. I was on my deathbed 3 years ago in the hospital when they said to me, "This is your last day on earth. You don't get to see tomorrow." And I remember that moment so clearly, sitting there going, I'm good. If this is it, I'm thrilled with how I lived my life. I've heard people say, and this is really important, that in those moments you can reach a place of contentment about it. But I got to tell you, being thrilled about it is better. And you can do that. Everyone can do that. Can get to a place where when that moment comes, you're sitting there going, I'm good. I did it. I lived the life I wanted to lead. I didn't live it the way anybody else thought I should. I didn't live up to anybody else's standards. And trust me, I don't live up to anybody else's standards. But I live up to mine. What matters to me. And other people go, well, how could that matter to you? There's so much of all this other stuff in the world. Well, I don't know, but it does. This is the meaning I've made of the world. And I can tell you that by doing so, I was on my deathbed going, I'm thrilled with how I lived. And so that was killer. And I bring that to you as something I now know. I'm no longer guessing. It's not theory. It's not something I'm trying to figure out. I was there. And now I know what it feels like to be thrilled with the way you have lived. Now, the thing about it is, I lived. So that North Star still matters. I'm still moving towards it. There's obviously more for me to do. And I'm in the midst of doing it. I'm looking out. I mean, one of the things that happens at 70 is, it's not like I got a ton of time left. And so it may not be that somebody told me I got 6 months to live, but I'm pretty certain I don't got another 50. And so time is of the essence, and how, but it is from the beginning. There was this one line in the movie. Why do we float through this thing called life instead of living it? I haven't done that. I'm really proud of that. I have given my all to everything I do. A lot of it has not worked out. A lot of it has not worked out the way I hoped. But I am proud of how I lived it. Was I always kind, humble and kind? No. Was I always loving and caring and at my best? No. But I always showed up ready to do my best, however that wind up turning out. I always wound up willing to look at what happened and go, okay, I can learn from that. Maybe I can do a little better next time, or at least maybe I can do a little better after 10 more times, or maybe 20. I'm a slow learner. So maybe you are too. I learned through all these years how not to beat myself up. I learned how to be kind in terms of how I felt about myself and others. I'm learning more about that in this past year. It's amazing how much you can grow in a year once you start really getting clear that you don't have long. My growing and my learning seems to be picking up pace right now. And that's a good thing, right? But what I want to bring to you today is you have this. It doesn't matter whether you're in your 90s or you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s. It's never too late to say, this is my North Star. This is what's actually possible, is to, on my deathbed, be thrilled with how I lived. Does that mean I don't have any regrets or I wish I hadn't done things differently? No, but I get that that's part of life. At some point you start to realize you're not going to get it all right. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do stuff that you wish you hadn't done. Or you're going to keep yourself so safe that you never even tried. One of the reasons I've made so many mistakes is I always give it a shot. And in doing so, my body's gotten pretty banged up over the years. My body, my emotions, my heart, all of it. It's gotten banged up. And yet when the moment happened, when I was there, that they're saying, this is it, I was thrilled with all I had done, all the ways in which I'd put myself out there. I get up here every week having no clue how what I'm going to say is going to go over. Whether you guys hear me, don't hear me, whether it makes sense to you, whether it doesn't. Seriously, it's not as if I know how you're going to receive what I'm going to say. And so for me, I get up here and it feels risky, even after all these years. But I do it because I'm thrilled to have the opportunity. I'm thrilled for the chance. Life is just rich, rich, rich in opportunity. We're not short of that like ever, in any given moment, to bring something new to it. To think, oh, maybe I could try this a little differently. Maybe I'll stand for something I believe in a little stronger than I have in the past. Maybe I'll speak up. Never been a particular issue of mine. But it might be for some of you, right? To speak up, to say, this is what's on my mind. And then maybe somebody else will say, you're full of baloney. I don't believe that at all. And then you're able to go, at least I said it. At least I spoke it out loud. It doesn't matter how it was received. I didn't need for it to be heard. It would have been nice, but I didn't need that part. I needed to be spoken. And then I get to feel like I did it. I made that move in my life. I expressed myself that way. You get to express yourself that way. But if you only are willing to express yourself if it feels safe, if you're only willing to step out of your comfort zone when it's not too uncomfortable, you miss out. Now again, I don't want to tell anybody just to go running off a bridge, which I've done, and I don't recommend it. I'm saying, like in yoga, you go into your stretch and smile. If you can't smile, back up the stretch. Even a small stretch is still a stretch. Find that place that works for you. But if you're not stretching at all, if you're just being what you've always been and doing what you've always done again and again and thinking this is the only thing I got or this is the only way I'm going to be, nothing moves. And then you're like that guy in the movie going, oh my God, all the things I wanted to do but never did. Now, I've never had a bucket list. Okay, that's not completely true. I do have a bucket list, but it's like, it doesn't drive me. I guess that's what I mean. The moments drive me. I'm driven by each moment. What's possible here, now. Like what's possible, how can I present what I'm saying today in the best possible light? After this, there'll be conversations, and there'll be this and that, and how can I be present in that? Then there's classes during the week. How am I present in that? What am I doing with my day and in my conversations and with my moments? I ask myself that question all the time because I like being on point to my North Star. I like the idea that at the end of the day, I am thrilled with how I lived. And I got to tell you that it's possible for every single one of you. However long you've lived, whatever you think you have left, you have time to set forth that. And so there's this way in which, when I look at that North Star about whether I'm happy or not, I lean into those places I am happy, and I make adjustments to those places I'm not in a beating myself up way. Now, when I was back in my 20s, I used to beat myself up all the time. I mean, I must have blown you don't get 97 jobs without blowing your life up a lot. Now it's all about the fine-tuning. The little things, each and every day. How do we focus? How do I bring, one of the things I talk to my wife about a lot and others who are interested is keeping your eye on the ball. I love this particular baseball analogy, or tennis, or any sport where there's a ball, right? Your best shot is when you keep your eye on the ball. But once you start thinking that you're juggling more than one thing, you lose sight of the ball. And once that happens, you're all over the place. And then you're a jack of all trade and master of none. Not that life is to be about mastery, but I would recommend the one thing I absolutely recommend is mastering your life. Because nobody else is going to do it for you. I am the master of my life. I was thinking about this morning, that there's not a lot of things that I have certainty about and know that I stand with certainty on. I know my life. I know what matters to me. I know what I stand for. And I know where I'm headed. I mean, we're all headed the same place. But you know what I mean? I know where I'm taking my next step. And I know more than anything else what got me here. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. This is what got me here. To know myself this well. And so this is what I've learned. That it isn't about going out and finding meaning. You were born with it. It's not intrinsic in the sense that it's in everybody's meaning is the same, but actually your meaning is already inside you. What matters to you is already in you. I remember reading about Michelangelo, talking about his sculptor, particularly the David, when asked about, how did you make such an incredible sculpture? He said, it was already in the marble. All I had to do was chisel away the parts that were in the way. And I have noticed through 70 years that that's exactly how I've lived my life. That what I've been doing is chiseling away at the David underneath. And I'm not done, obviously. I'm still here. And that's what we're all doing. When we look out here for meaning, we're not chiseling here. And this is where it is. There's no circumstance, absolutely none. And I can tell you this because I've seen so many of them. I've been in so many different circumstances in my life. None of them mattered as much as who I showed up as in them. Whether it was a diagnosis, whether it was a firing, whether it was a divorce. I mean, whether it was having bullets fly by my head. I've been there. And all that mattered is how I was being in it to create the life that I now have, which I think is thrilling to me. Now, I promise you, my life would not be thrilling for you. You have to find your own thrill in life. So I'm not up here saying, live my life. I'm up here saying, live yours. But don't apologize for it. Stand for it. Keep chiseling away and keep looking at who you are being. Keep chiseling away. It seems to me to be right to the last breath process. But it is in the chiseling that the thrill of being here arises. I notice what keeps showing up in my life is whatever opportunity I need next to help me continue to chisel. Am I saying that right? Okay. Getting a little tongue-tied there. So let's end with a meditation. You guys good with that? All right, get comfortable where you are. Take a deep breath and relax. Imagine yourself on a path. It is the perfect path. It is your path. How it feels beneath your feet, the view, the smell, the temperature of the air, perfect. And it takes you to your sanctuary, your special place, your safe space. And it is stunningly gorgeous. in whatever way is beautiful to you. How it feels, how it looks. The feeling of it is perfect for you. And in the middle is a chair. It is the perfect chair. And when you sit in it, you feel the Take another deep breath and relax even more. And from this safe space, imagine yourself on your deathbed. Imagine there you are at the very end. This is it. You're about to take your last breath. And ask yourself, am I happy with the way I lived? And those places where you are happy, lean into that. And those places where maybe some tweaking is required, notice that without judgment, without fear. Just notice, because you are safe. Put your hand on your heart. And know for yourself that you can check this out anytime you want. Thank yourself for taking the time to check in with the North Star of your life. And when you're ready, come on back to the room. I have one more thing I want to share about this. Here's one of the beauties of being in community. We can be there for each other. We can see each other's brilliance. We can say, I see that North Star in you. And when somebody says to you, this is what I saw about my North Star. This is what I see about where I'm headed in life. You can go, I see that. I support you in that. It really helps to have people around you who, instead of going, how you're being doesn't work, going, I see the beauty in where you're headed. That's what loving community is about. When we can see that for each other, we can move forward with each other in community. That lifts us all. So it isn't just about seeing it for ourselves, and it certainly isn't about giving anybody advice about theirs. But it is about being a witness for each other as we rise. Thank you. I love you.